And we're live. We have a fantastic guest today, Mike Dowd. First of all, I'm Felix Levine, Gene Borrello, Johnny Alite, and our guest, as I just said, Michael Dowd. Thank you for coming on the Johnny and Gene show. I know personally, I know John and Gene are excited, but for myself, I'm super excited to have you here. And we're going to get into it because I know that you and John have a lot of stories from back in the days. So first of all, thank you for being here. And how's life been treating you the past couple of months?
Thanks for having me. And life is a bowl of cherries, I guess. No, I constantly have something going on. I can't keep track of my life sometimes. But the reality is, I live a semi-normal. I guess I live a semi-normal life, but I think this whole world today has changed. Everybody has interactions on a daily basis with people they don't even know. I mean, that's fair to say, right? Between social media and whatnot. But I have issues I have to deal with like everybody else, So, but as it's turned out, due to the things that we've done in our lives, we've come across the pairings of some interesting characters in our lifetime, and it's been. Every day's a wild ride, to be honest with you. Yeah. Every day is a wild ride. Now, can we curse on this show? Okay, because I don't want to. That's half my vocabulary, and I don't want to.
We don't want to limit you.
I don't want to feel limited.
So I want to ask you, because we got John right next to you. Do you remember the first time you met John, and maybe the first time you knew of John, what you knew of him, and then when you first met him, what your first kind of thoughts were?
Okay, so what I knew of John was before I knew John. Okay, so and I know this can be a sensitive topic, but I knew of John through the Gotti crew people, and I know this. You guys have been going back and forth with some kind of verbal war for a long time that I actually got dragged into, but I don't want. That's a side note. But so I knew of John, but never knew John. And then when I met John, somehow he reached out to me, or I reached out to him. He sort of moved. I think you saw the documentary, right?
Yeah. We talked about 7'5".
Yeah. And he loved the documentary, and he knew my character. He knew me, even though he didn't know me, because he had dealt with guys like me in his life. And
so 7'5", especially.
And especially 7'5". That's what confuses me, because I'm pissed off that I wasn't getting some of the grease back then, because he was running the streets when I was there, and that makes me a little upset, by the way. And why don't we discuss that later? Because you may still have those connections or not, I don't know. But the reality is, I missed out on mine, and I'm not too fucking happy about it.
Before you came on, we were talking about Frankie Burke, and me and Frankie actually did a double homicide in the 7'5", and guys used to ask us. Well, we just did a short show on it recently, and they says, how can that happen in the 7'5" and just leave a body there and the bodies? And I says, well, we got to ask Mike.
Down by the weeds?
Yeah.
Well, we only check the weeds now and then, because if you went to the weeds, you were likely going to find a body. So that meant work, and there was so much other work going on that they were already dead. So what can you possibly do?
Yeah, people don't realize how busy the 7'5" was, especially back in the day.
Yeah, it was fun though. Yeah. I have to say, as busy as it was you didn't want to miss a tour, because something was going to happen that was really stimulating, exciting, and I don't mean too much pressure on someone's fucking neck. Like that's today's current stuff. Well, but just back then, it was shootings, it was rapes, it was robberies, it was murders, it was blood in the street. It was amazing. It was exciting.
I'm glad we could bring you a lot of work there.
Yeah, but you guys actually just fucked it up, because those were old murders. By the time we got there, they were done. Usually on a patrol situation, you arrive at the scene of a fresh kill, which is fucking weird, huh?
Yes.
A lot of killing over there.
Now, do you remember from your end, what were you thinking when you had first heard of Mike Dowd, and then the first time that you met him? You think this guy's fucking crazy?
No, I knew a lot about Mike, actually, and his partner from the streets when I was younger, actually, and then when he got jammed up. So I knew the history behind him, the story behind him. I always liked Mike prior to even meeting Mike. So when we met, we hit it off right away. And he's a lot of fun. He's full of energy. And, outside of what happened to both of us in crime and jails, and I'm talking as a human being. He's really a great guy, good friend, fun to hang out with, laugh all the time. And that's really about what life is for us now. I mean, like he said, it just changed. We got a wild ride constantly. It's just, at this point, it's in a good direction.
Right.
Do you ever...
So when I met John initially, physically met him, personally, because he had reached out to me through social media. He sent me some message or whatnot. And then when I met him in person, it was like, because he's so handsome and he's got all this glow. He's got a 24-hour tan. I don't know. So now he caused me to buy a condo in Florida so that I can keep up with his tanning program. I don't know what the fuck he does. You must have the bed in Cherry Hill. I don't know where you live anymore. But
Convertible.
Convertible. The hair blown back and but so when I first met him, it was like, he's fucking jacked. And I did a lot of time. I was jacked. But I'm almost 60 now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll be 60.
You're a young guy. So.
I'll be 60 in a little bit, I come home, I was jacked and ripped, you know what that's like. You come out, you're working out, I had it down to 22 minutes, by the way, because that's enough. 22-minute workout, done.
Really?
Yeah, it was done, and ripped. But anyway, but I look at, he's handsome, he's glowing, he's got all this, and I'm like, Johnny, to myself, what the fuck you doing for a living right now? Like, who's hiring you? You got 28 murders or something. I don't know how many they were, 20, 30, 40. What did they give you, 40 now?
I don't know. They changed that number.
But you know what? But Johnny was nice to me. And you know what? When you go through the tragedy that many of us have had in our lives, personally brought upon ourselves of our own doing, when someone's nice to you for no ulterior motive, just because they understand, empathy, sympathy, whatever kind of thing you want to call it, agony. But that's a connection that we all, when we go through that period of our life, like if someone's real to you and reaches out to you with a sense of touch, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of shit right now on the street. Like, people got to have empathy for one another, and some places sympathy or not, but, you got to understand one another. But when Johnny was so kind to reach out to me, I didn't give a fuck what he did or who he did it to, because he wasn't treating me that way. And we want real people to treat you like a real human being, and that's how Johnny treated me. So at that point, it doesn't matter what he did yesterday or who he did or didn't do it to, and that was the way. That's why I call it fall in love, whatever. Have that bro thing with someone like that because of that feeling and because of that connection. So
there's still people from the past life that you've you've stayed in touch with, or still are friends with, either that you worked with when you were in the in the police department. I mean, is there anyone that you feel like is a good friend that you still have from back then?
Well, that's a loose term, right? Because good friend. What's a good friend? It's the dollar in your pocket, right? And someone that when I have a question, are they going to answer the phone? I'm not asking them to come paint my house for me. I mean, like I'll call Johnny up. I'm negotiating some kind of a deal with the movie people or something of that nature. I'll give Johnny a call and see what his experience was on it. Some people don't have the time for you. So who's your friend, right? The guy that took you on a fishing trip once. Is he?
Mike, we were just talking about that, right? Before you stepped in, we were talking about how when you got your highs and lows from whatever life, normal, street life, legitimate life, how people just ride the train to be your friend only when things are good.
Only when things are good.
And when things are bad, they don't know how to pick up the phone. And I think that's why we relate so well to each other, is because we kept it real with each other. No matter what, we're friends. Good, bad, and different. We're going to have our ups and downs. And I think a lot of people, especially when you come from the lives we came from, they just aren't sincere. And it's hard to get some sincere friends. And you hear the way I speak about Mike. Everybody knows that. A couple of my friends in Florida and different things that he socializes with and talks to. And it's hard to find real people, and especially today's day, it is.
Do you guys feel like, you guys all had your different experiences, that now in this next life, do you feel like it's harder to trust people? I mean, I'll start with you, Mike. Do you feel like you're able to fully trust anyone these days?
Well, no, but let me premise that by saying, I'm more cautious about who I give information to, because information will always be used against you, right? No matter what it is. I like red cars and short skirts. So if I say that to someone, if there's a red car and a short skirt in the area, they're going to use that against me. Sure. So any information that you give people can be used against you. I used to think that was a way of connecting with someone, but oftentimes now it's like that's the first thing that's going to be put in your face or used against you. So you have to be cautious on that. But the reality is, I've changed my approach. I was a guy, because I'm a reader. I read people the minute I meet them, and within 3, 4, 5 seconds, I've determined they'll never go down the road with this person other than, hey, how you doing? How's the weather? How's your kids? Have a nice day. On the other hand, I look at someone and I say, okay, this, with the first few minutes, you know that this person is not there to hurt you or use something against you. And that's how I sort of judge people today from my perspective, because when you share information with people, you're going to get burned one way or another, and you got to know people aren't.
Yeah, I agree with him 100%.
For you feel?
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. He's right, because once you tell somebody information about what you're pretty much known for, like you're saying, it gets used against you. That happened to me. Same scenario with all the robberies and stuff like that, where people would now blame me for everything that was going on. When half of it I wasn't even responsible for, but just because I'm known for that. Now it's, he's right with the information. It's now I did it all. Right. Everything's on me. So it's for me, it's harder to trust people now because I had so many close people turn on me.
And for you, John, do you feel like in this, post jail and post that life, that even just having friends, in general, it's do you feel like you have to watch what you say, or that you fear that they're going to use it against you at some point?
Well, I think what Mike said and what Gene said is, as you get older, you learn a little bit more about life. And we had the life experience as Mike was on the street as a cop. So he's seen everything. He was educated as a cop. He was also educated as a criminal. He was educated in jails. He's educated in people in general. And I think our lives actually made us pretty smart and pretty wise. And as you get older, you get a little wiser. So I think that we learn to, one thing we can do, we got a sixth sense as far as the street and reading people, just what Mike said. And you know who's real and who's full of shit from being on the street and being with all the experience that we had. As we get older, we were Gene's age, you get a certain amount of experience. As you keep getting older, you start learning and you're deciphering through bullshit. And, we seen it all, from drugs to bodies to good people to bad people to, disloyal. He was on the force and whatever. He had a lot of disloyal police officers that were his friend until he got jammed up, and then there was like, see you
the
later,
guys were at my house one day partying with me, and the next day, he could sell sand to an Arab. Like, these are the comments that are being made about guys that you think got you back. You baptized their kids with them and shit, and all of a sudden it's, he can sell ice to an Eskimo. Well, who the fuck says shit like that about you? This is a guy that you had in your house, trusted around your family. I mean.
And how has your mentality changed, since going to jail? I mean, what in this, second kind of life? I mean, how?
Well, so I've learned that you really don't own your life, Like, a lot of your life is like, my life has been controlled by somebody other than me. So, and that goes back to, like, the information you share. So I try to not to put my life in control of somebody else's hands. So the more mistakes that I make or the more information I give you, I lose control of my own life and destiny. So my experience, I mean, I have hundreds of experiences, probably Johnny could tell you, in prison, and but for me, I immediately cut people off more quickly. And I'm not that guy. I'm a sociable, gregarious, and that's how I learn, right? I share and I get information back. But for me, I've made my world smaller. Even though there's a social media world, I've made my personal world smaller.
Hey, Brian, I want to ask you something. When you go into jail as a cop, was it harder for you in there? Like, did you have more situations, or did they have to, like, what was it like being in prison, known as being?
So I'm going to break it down for you, because I figured this situation would come up. So every day you felt like someone was going to come after you every day.
Wait, they had you in population?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I chose the population.
Wow.
Yeah, they wanted to keep me in isolation. I chose population.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Right. This is state up north?
No. This is federal.
Okay.
I started out in MCC, New York. I was there for 2 years, and I watched how it worked.
Right.
I watched how 88% of that federal prison was cooperating with the government.
Right.
And you're telling me that I can't be in population with these fucking rats? I mean, no, for real,
I love you, Mike, the way you talk.
It's true, though. He's right.
You fucking guys, who the fuck you think you are? And you're telling me that I got to worry about walking a track with this guy in the same area? And then it gets into some other stuff. But the bottom line is that I felt that if you're going to fucking be turning in, all the paisans, right? They're all turning in their brother-in-law and their mother-in-law and their sister-in-law. And I'm like, And then in comes the Jamaicans and Pappy Mason's my cellmate next to me. I'm like, okay, Pappy Mason just was accused of killing Eddie Burns, the cop, right? And I got Jughead, Mitch, whatever his name is. I knew them all back then, right? He was the probation officer they killed. You know, there's all these guys next to me, and they're all crawling for an extra piece of chicken. I mean, are you serious? Like, I gotta be worried about these guys? You know? I mean, I can handle myself. Don't get me wrong. I'm one human being. You know, two guys, you gotta have a hard time no matter what neighborhood you're in. But the reality was, I can't do another 14 years like this in a fucking box. And so I told them I was going to kill myself if they didn't let me out. They let me out that day. You know, I mean, here I am. Why did I do this 8 months ago? Well, first of all, I had to get a feel for how it worked, you know, and how prison would be. And then when I realized that most of the guys in there, like, they would come to me, sneak talk to me. They always sneak talk to a cop because they still have that sense of that you're a cop. But a lot of people, even though they're gangster criminals, whatever, they still like talking to cops. Like, and I'm not saying like they're sharing information with them. They just like to get a feel for what's going on because they know there's some balance. Usually, they know they got the wrong guy. They know there's some balance in a cop, you know. So, like they bounce shit off you. I'm sure you've done it in your lifetime. I'm not putting you out there, but
yes.
I mean, I know you did. You worked with them, right. But so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. But that's how it was for me going through prison. And one of the things that came back to me, and I'm gonna put some guys on the spot, is the wise guys treated me like shit in prison. Not in the beginning because they needed me. You know, in MCC New York, there's only like 42 white guys. Everybody else is black and Hispanic in there. And, you know, it's all clannish in prison, you know, even though most of the nicest guys were black and Spanish to me. And it turned out that the wise guys that were cooking with I don't want to throw names, but the Persico people and all those guys, they treated me wonderful in MCC, you know. But once I got to prison, they would turn their fucking head and wouldn't even know me, you know. And that was like,
wow.
Again, I'm getting disrespected, you know what I mean? And of course, I would never see, as being a cop in prison, you don't seek a friend. In prison, you know, everybody runs up to you, hands you stuff, you know, your first day off the bus, get this, get that, they load you up with shit, and then when you go back to commissary, you know, you repay everybody.
You know what I got, Mike? I probably had about 30 cops that worked for me. And one of them I talked about a lot. Was a very good friend of mine. I moved 2 hours away. He moved next door to me, Phil Baroni. And I told you he was a decorated detective. He killed with me, sold drugs with me. He was my bookmaking partner. Everybody knows that. And I said, out of all the street guys that stayed with me, and I had a falling out with this guy. He was probably the toughest guy at any gangster that stayed with me. He took my back. He would shoot with me. If I fought, he fought. The only problem I had with him was money. He was cheap as a bastard.
Yeah. You telling me?
Yeah. But I got to tell you the truth. He didn't want to go to jail. I heard he was gonna eat the gun. They stopped him. But as a tough guy, the guy was tough. And I had other cops that stayed with me, were tough guys. So I go back to the same thing I always say. I judge a guy for the guy. I don't care. Mike's the same guy for me. If he has no uniform or he has a uniform, doesn't matter to me. I think the weak guys do what Mike's talking about in prisons. Because if you're a pretty strong guy, secure guy, you're going to be the first guy to stand up because you don't need the crowd to follow you.
Right.
So yeah, and
you're right about that.
And this is and he's a pretty tough guy. Anybody who watches anything or knows him personally, he's no slouch. So it's hard to go into a situation when you don't know the situation. It's like me walking into Brazilian penitentiary. You got to feel your way around, right? You stick your foot in the pool a little bit and get an idea.
Right.
And then once you learn that, he's from the street. He knows the street. Right. I think once you know the street, nothing changes no matter where the location is.
I'll give you two experiences that make you both laugh, and you'll get the gravity of what it was like. Okay, so now I'm down. Once you're down a while, you start to have that little confidence and that little varnish where, it's like being a hairband cop, right? Oh, this guy, don't fuck with that cop. Look at his nightstick. It's dragging on the floor, his gun's down by his ankle. You got a problem. He's not the guy that's all Johnny Cracker or whatever. But anyway, so I get transferred. I'm like 9 years down, 10 years down. I call it a hunger strike somewhere or whatever. Anyway, and then I ended up, I don't like to say it because they'll change my fucking level if I have to go back to prison because I created some kind of hunger strike, but I didn't create it. I just helped organize it. Anyway, I won't say that because I had nothing to do with it. But Anyway, so they transferred us to the brand new Brooklyn MDC, and I ended up getting transferred to McKean, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was
and,
there.
And I ran into Joey Gambino. Joe?
Yeah.
Wouldn't look me in the fucking eye one time. But he had me help get my roommate at the time, Giovanni Zarbano, because they were on trial, and that was his like rat, whatever guy was supposed to testify against him. He says, "Tell Giovanni, please don't fuck us." So I'm the middleman relaying messages to this criminal organization, right? And they hung the jury because Giovanni wouldn't fucking sink him at the trial because we discussed the messaging back and forth. I'm the fucking pigeon. And I get to McKean 9-10 years later, and he's like, Joey's got his head turned to the fucking ground. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude.
Wow.
I just fed your brother in the other prison I was in because his brother had the
Yeah, but I got to cut you. You want to hear a funny story, Mike? I'll give you a funny story. Milano was the mayor of Camden. And it's on the opposite side of what he's saying now. Now, Milano was involved with everybody in Philadelphia. And he got an 8 or 9 year bid. At McKean. I go to McKean right after you're in McKean. And he won't talk to me. So I go in the music room and I says, "What are you, stupid? Why won't you talk to me?" He goes, "Oh, you guys got me all jammed up. I get 8 years." Now, I'm not involved in that case. I know guys who are involved in the case. I go, "Out there, you didn't need me. In here, you need me. I don't need nothing from you. I'm just trying to help you out because I feel bad everybody's staying away from you."
Right.
I said, "So I'm trying to do the right thing for you. And when you need something, let me know. You don't got to lock yourself in the music room." And then later on, he got friendly with me. But this is jail, man. This is just the way I talk about the street. And Gene, you know, because you came from almost the same experience when you first came home now. People want to grab onto you and gravitate, like when Mike's movie came out, 7-5. Mm-hmm. I mean, whoever doesn't see it, you got to watch it. And it's got to get into a motion picture. It has to, because it's incredible. His life story is incredible. And I know the 7-5, and he knows I know a lot of guys that work with me from the 7-5 that were dirty. And, it's funny, guys want to know you at certain places, then they don't want to know you. So you got to have thick skin and say, fuck it, who doesn't want to know me or like me?
Well, Mike, I want to tell you, in Rikers Island, in the state, they probably wouldn't let you come out of protective custody, no matter what.
Well, they wouldn't. No.
The state, Rikers Island, they would never let you out, no matter what.
But Rikers Island wouldn't. I know
Never.
Yeah,
they wouldn't.
They have a whole unit for that.
They would have targeted you.
They have a whole unit for that, though. So you're really not locked down then.
Right.
So it's a different life.
Right.
I know that. But in so I get to McKean. I got to tell you this story. So I get to McKean, and I'm there about 3 days. And this guy, big black guy the size of this building, walks up. I'm taking a pee, and I just finished hitting the weight pile. And I'm taking a pee. And this guy, the sun goes, he blocks out the fucking sun. He's so big, right? And he goes, "Wrong ball, man." I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I'm here 3 days, I'm down 9-10 years, and I got somebody going to tell me I'm using the wrong bowl. All right? And how am I going to get past him before he takes me? I don't know what's going to happen here, right? So I go, "What?" I cut him in half with my fucking... He goes, he looks at me like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" I go, "What'd you say?" He goes, "You're bold, man." I go, I thought he said you got the wrong bowl, man. He said, "You're bold." So I go, "What do you mean by that?" Now I go,
Right.
"Just stay tough, right?" So they're going, "Oh, wow, thanks." I go, what do you mean by that?" He goes, "You was that cop in New York City?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You don't give a fuck?" I go, "No." He goes, "I just let you know, man, you're all right. You're all right here, "Oh, all right. Well, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. I'm all right. I don't know." About a week to two, about 3 weeks later, some Irish guy named Mike from Boston. And the Boston guys are the toughest guys in the joint. They're the toughest guys in the joint, straight up, because they're hard knuckle motherfuckers. Yeah. They don't care.
All the Brinks truck guys, right?
Yeah, all the Brinks. He's a Brinks truck guy.
Shea Brothers, they were friends with me.
He wasn't. Yeah, I know him. They were in with me initially.
My friend knows him good.
MCC.
My friend knows him really good.
The guy had one of the guys.
Yes, that's fine. He's a good friend of mine.
The guy
actually.
Dan was all fucked up.
Yeah.
He got 28 years. Anyway, so. This guy's walking by, and you can tell he's a squared away, straight guy. And it turns out he was former military, Marine guy, whatever. And I always see him looking at me, and he just keeps walking. And then one day he says, "Mike," like he catches me off guard somewhere. And I go, "What's up?" He goes, I got to tell you something. I go, "Why?" He goes, I want to walk with you, but And this is like I shouldn't say this, but he goes, this is what he said to me. He said, I've been down like 4 or 5 years, he said, and I watch you around here. You never stop doing what you're doing. You never hide. You're fucking always out there. You're a leader. You're in front of the pack. You know, you take the track, you do this. And so I said, yeah, and? He goes, I don't have the balls. He says, this is his words. I thought I was a man until I saw you. I'm like, what? He goes, I want to talk to you, but these fucking assholes here tell me to stay away from you. All the wise guys and all the fucking wannabes and whatnot tell me to stay away from you, don't talk to him. He was a cop.
Yeah.
And like I'm here for fucking shaking the world down, you know, good police officer, but whatever. I mean, I'm not proud of it.
But you know what it is, Mike? And again,
They don't want to be known as walking with a cop.
well, I know all the rules.
Yeah, even though I'm a fucking...
That's it.
I can't come out of prison and say I'm a cop. Still,
Well,
can I? That don't work. I get a job, maybe.
There's rules on the street and there's rules in jail.
Right.
But the same thing he's talking about, there was a pedophile priest that he molested about 8 kids. Well, he probably more, but he copped out to 8 kids.
Right.
And he's meeting different guys from the joint, and he's giving them newspapers. They're not supposed to talk to him, right? But they're meeting a pedophile. And that's okay for them.
Right.
And I end up slapping the guy, and everybody's like, what are you slapping him? And they called me PPP or something, Porn Police Patrol. And I said, and now there's another guy that's there as a cop. And I'm not like everybody else. I talk to him, I play bocce with him. I go, you guys fucking kidding me? The guy's a criminal. He's a gangster. Why wouldn't you talk to him? He was doing work for us out on the street.
Yeah, it was okay
He was
then.
out, but it was okay then. But you still talk to a pedophile priest and take his newspaper. But the difference is, some guys will stand on their own 2 feet.
Right.
And some guys won't.
Right.
And I could give a shit what anybody says anywhere I'm at, and everybody knows that about me. I'm so out there now, the same way.
Right.
That we're friends, whether we're out here or inside, me and you would be
Right.
friends.
Right.
And a lot of your old guys that were involved with the 7-5 were my friends back then, and some of them are still my friends. But it doesn't matter because these guys change the rules as you go. And that's the problem.
Right. Yeah. I, a week before I came in, I was working with some Columbos, okay?
Yeah.
For real. Like,
Right.
Thank God it stopped where it stopped.
Right.
You know, they're doing time for bodies. You know, they're probably not doing time now. None of them are really. You know, everybody's fucking gave the next guy up for the next guy. But I'm working with the Colombo guys that are in the war. I don't even know about this war. I heard about it. Guy's got holes all over his body. Yeah. He goes, "We're at war." Who's we? I thought he was talking about Vietnam or something. Yeah. We're at war. I don't know. There was 2 factions, arenas, and
Actually 3.
Nah, well. Yeah. Okay, see, I don't know, but all I know is they're at war, and I'm working with this guy, and he's trying to do all kinds of shit, and I'm like, okay.
Arena got life. Joey Scopel got killed and Persco just died. So that's the
Wild Bill. They killed Wild Bill.
Yeah, Wild Bill. So during these in the early '90s, they had the war. Yeah.
I was in the middle of it. I
right.
didn't know though. I'm going to this guy's body shop, and he's like, "Oh, he's locking the gates." I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, the war broke out again." What war? What, fucking the Gulf War?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Crazy.
He's actually one of the nicer guys too, Joey Scopel, that died. I mean, really, it was a nice guy. And unfortunately, in that life, one of our friends was involved in that killing, Anthony Russo, who's a good friend of mine now. But that's just part of the life. This is just the way it goes. This treachery is unbelievable. And just what Mike's saying, or me and Gene always talk about.
Hey, Mike, one of my friends was actually a bodyguard for Joey Scopo, and he said he used to walk around with grenades. He says, "Come on, man. You're walking into sit-downs with grenades."
Yeah,
I said, "This is just
doubt
crazy."
it. These guys are crazy. One of the guys spoke Vietnamese. One of the Colombo boys, like his body, he spoke Vietnamese fluent. And he he sit with his legs crossed and shit. And I'm looking at this freak, and the guy he worked for, I don't want to give his name up. He was a monster. He was the biggest guy you ever want to see in your life. All right, and this is his bodyguard. He's half his size. Yeah. So I'm looking at this this guy and saying, "Well, he's your bodyguard? I don't fucking get it." And he goes, "Yeah, well, he does the dirty work, and I can't be doing, because he don't give a fuck,
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. That's enough for me to know. Do I need to know anything else about this record? I'm good."
Do you remember the first day that you got in jail? I mean, did you ever think that, you were a cop, so you were used to putting people in jail. Did you ever think that, did you feel invincible? Well,
Well, I felt invincible before jail.
Yeah.
Like the minute before.
right. And then, but right when you step in, I mean, what's going on in your head?
So there's two phases here. There's the first phase when I got arrested, which was like quite the scene. What a movie scene that is. Holy flying fuck. Anyway, so I get arrested, and then I get transported out to Riverhead, and I'm in Riverhead County Jail for a while, and I know I'm going to be either bailed out or I'm going to end up, taking some, decent little stupid plea and say I'm sorry to the world, which I am and was, but still, it's at this point in my life I've paid my fucking dues, so I don't really get hung up on that shit anymore. But like I'm ready to go away for a little skid bit and say, because people don't know the stories. Is I knew that all they really wanted was me to quit. Right? So now you're gonna sort of force me to quit. Okay, I'm gonna quit. Right? So here I am getting ready to quit. Right? They get me out on bail. Let me quit. And then he's gonna go back. Like that's how you think. You're so fucking like your mind is so not in tune to really what's happening to you. That's what I'm thinking. And then I get out on bail, and then I get set up by Kenny when we're out on bail on the wire and all this other shit that went on. And then when I hit the feds, and I'm driving in, and they got me in the back of the car, and they're driving me into the fucking federal building. And it says, the guy says to me, they're so slick, because these guys, they had a little bit of that edge because they've been there before. So these detectives, they got me and they drive me in front of the federal building, and they drive me past and it says, United States of America versus you, they tell me. And I went, oh my God, this isn't good.
Well, you got 15 years, right?
Yeah, 14.
What'd you
Okay,
play out to?
he got 14 years, though.
Yeah.
Phil Baroni, now let me give you a comparison. Phil Baroni sold drugs with me, killed with me, bookmaker with me, did an armored van with me, part of the conspiracy. I did it, but he stayed home, but I had his badge. And he did armed home invasions. He got 3/4 pay, right? Retirement.
Like Kenny.
He got only 10 months in jail, and he became a multimillionaire with my money that I made him.
Right.
Now let's take a comparison, Mike. He didn't kill anybody.
Right.
He didn't do any things that Phil did with me as far as murders and all this other stuff. And he got 15 years. So look at the disparity.
So I didn't get 15.
Well,
I fucking sucked ass to get 15, okay? Yeah. Because they offered me, on my first plea, was 24 to 30 years.
Oh, man.
And I'm sitting there, and the question goes back to, what did it feel like when you walked into the... So now it's United States of America versus me.
Oh, man.
And the guy says this, we take over countries, just so you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm not going to do too good against them,
What
right?
was your charge? What was your actual
Racketeering,
Right.
RICO,
Right.
conspiracy to this
They
and
gave
that.
you a RICO?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I should have been mobbed up right away, right? I got the RICO. Right? Anyway, so they closed the cell on me. I'm in the hole, right? They put you in the hole right away when you first come in, usually, especially guys like myself, cops.
High profile,
High
too.
profile, yeah. I'm in the fucking hole, and I got guys crying on the inside. They keep leaving, though. These guys are leaving every day. Where the fuck you going? They come back like 9 hours later. All fucking fed and fat and shit. They're going to the fucking prosecutor's office all day long, right? And I'm sitting there in my cell. When do I get out? Like, what's? I don't know what's going on. What the fuck? They close the door on me. They bring me food for a few weeks, and I'm like, when the fuck do I get out? Like, what's my turn? Like, aren't I special? You guys are telling me how fucking special I am. Really? I'm all over the news every fucking day. The headlines of the news: Dowd this, Dowd that. I mean, my lawyer even commented, they're going to look for the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. I was just one when the Lindbergh baby kid. Anyway, but you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, this is it for the rest of my fucking life, man. And it's like quiet, like this. Holy fuck. And, so that's how low you feel at that moment. Like, this is the rest of my life in this fucking cell. Like, I guess I can do. I guess I might be able to do this. Like, maybe. We're gonna try it for a while. And it overcomes Henry or Joe or Worrell or whatever Rodriguez from the fucking Cali cartel, and he sees me fucking throwing my eggs out, and I fucking. Whatever that fucking white stuff is that looks like oatmeal, but it's not. Grits. I'm not eating.
I grew up on grits.
Yeah, I'm eating this shit. I'm not eating nothing. I can't eat. And finally, this guy comes over to me and he says to me, "You got to start eating this stuff, man." I go, this is fucking, he goes, that's what it is. He's like, yeah, I mean, thank God for guys with some wisdom that take a little guy, he's half my size, but, a baby like me coming in the joint and giving you a little bit of guidance here and there. Even though he tried to set me up with a 500-kilo deal in the fucking hole, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for help, and here's a guy, I got 500 kilos for you, don't you worry. And we got a friend outside who's going to make a drop, and you're going to make, $2.5 million right now. And I'm like, this is great. I should have come to federal prison years ago. And meanwhile, they're fucking recording everything, trying to give you another charge while I'm sitting in the...
Wow.
You can't fucking believe this. This is what happens, man. Yeah. This is what happens all day long.
Everybody's trying to get a Rule 35.
All day long.
Even in the witness units, they're trying to
all
do it.
day long.
Yeah, it don't matter.
Never stops.
Right. Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's crazy.
They call me, I said, what did I do? I made a phone call. Now I'm like, I'm facing 24 to 30 on a plea. I tell them, fuck you, trial. Now they're trying to set up a new set of charges. I mean, they never stop.
Wow.
The feds never stop.
Yeah.
There's nothing too small for them and nothing too big. They will never stop. I mean, you got to set me up. I'm in the lowest point of my fucking life. Can you just give me a break? You got me for this. Can you just leave me alone? I mean, it's insane what they'll do to you.
Well, they might have thought you had information about guys that maybe other crooked cops, you know what I mean? They thought you could have gave. That's what they usually do, you know?
That may have
They just want to keep the ball rolling.
Oh, they never want it to end.
Right, exactly.
They like.
They want to see if you know something about more.
They want to keep eating and keep eating like Gavones, Right. Anyway, so much shit that happens.
Do you think it was also because your trial was so public and was all over the news and everything that they wanted to make a big statement on, getting these crooked cops and, making a point about the NYPD? Really?
No, they wanted it to end. They wanted it to end with me. And that's why they made it so big about me. If they could get a captain or a chief, what am I going to tell a fucking captain? Yeah, Cap, I'm fucking making $8,000 a week. I mean... Yeah. No, he's going to want half, right? It doesn't work that way like people think, you know what I mean? You have your little crew, and that's it, And if somebody on the outside steps on you and your crew, either you take care of them or you put them in, and then you make more money with them. You use them for some kind of money-making operation. Wow. I had 12 guys lined up in uniform waiting to work for us.
Wow.
And they weren't on the job list in a year. I'm like, you guys got to go fuck yourselves, man. You better learn how to be a cop first if you want to go bad. You can't be a fucking bad cop the minute you start the job. It's ridiculous. And I don't promote that stuff. It's all wrong, But I'm saying if you really want to, you're 22 years old. You want to risk your life and your future by taking these risks that you see that we made. They don't even know what we're doing, by the way. They just have a clue.
Well, it might have had something to do with the car you were driving.
What happened to
the
that
bag
Corvette?
of money that fell out.
What happened to that Corvette?
Some wise guy took it. The keys.
Now, I was when I was...
Allstate. It's done. I paid my fucking debt on that one.
The other day I was watching the 7-5 again, and my girlfriend, she told me, she was like, he looks so calm at that trial, and I've never seen someone be so honest. What's going on in your... I mean, you knew so many cameras, the world was watching, and did you go in there like, yeah, I'll tell them exactly as it is? What's going on in your head?
Well, first of all, you can't lie in that fucking room because they could bring you a new charge. That's number one. And why lie? I mean, at this point, I was like throwing up. One of the Mary Murphy, I think, from News 11 or at that time or 2, whatever the hell she was, she used one of these words which I can't even. And I know the word implicitly, but I can't repeat it right now. And I went, and then she defined it. It's like you were regurgitating, So I looked at her. I said, yeah. That's exactly what it was like. So, and I forget the word right now, but it escapes me. It's quite an educated word. One of my 500 words of power in that book that you read when you're in prison.
Sure. We all read it.
Yeah, 500 words of power.
Oh my
you
God.
come out with a vocabulary. Like, you don't know, now who do I speak to? No one that I know can understand any of these 500 words. But so the gravity of that was like, I was in a hole for fucking 9 months, right? Yeah. And then I was in a cell with a bunch of next door half these wise guys, Frank Mastorano. Does that make a Mastorano?
There's a Maturano. I don't know a Master.
Yeah. He had 7 bodies, but he was like the nicest guy in the world. He knocked the guy out right in front of me because the guy gave him a hard time over the phone. Boom, plastered him. Goodbye. Yeah, Ringo. But I mean, so I come out of that environment and I'm in front of this, like I feel like I'm on vacation. Yeah, I've been just I've been locked up for almost 2 years or whatever it was. I think that time about 14 months by the time I got in front of that panel, and I had already gone through testimony with the people that were on the panel. I didn't know they were going to make me look like a jackass, which, by the way, that's what they do. Like someone might have wanted to give me a heads up on that, So, Mr. Dowd, when you did this, I'm like, bitch, you were trying to suck my dick. I mean, you were all over my shit, and now you're fucking talking to me like I stole your personal lunch money. I mean, for Christ's sakes, leave me. Anyway, I couldn't believe the way because it's all about them, right? And I don't know this. I think it's all about me, right? That's how childish we can be. But for me, it was a break to come out of the cell. And they walk me. I got a suit and tie on, like a gentleman finally again. Well, maybe I'm not quite a gentleman, but a decent. I look like a gentleman.
Did you? You talked about, I think a little earlier, maybe about the highs and lows in prison. But did you ever have a really low point? I mean, I've talked to these two individually about those moments, and I don't know if you can recall a time that you felt like you were at your lowest low, that there was absolutely zero hope.
So. I guess it ebbs and flows, but there was a point where I had this. People may have heard this. Or I don't know if Johnny is aware of this, but I had earned a year off of my sentence.
Wow.
For taking the drug program. Anyway, long story short, without getting out in the weeds with the story because it can get convoluted, I end up putting in for a transfer. Yeah, that's another reason, whatever. Anyway, another story. But so I put in for a transfer, and I end up. I'll give you a little bit of a snippet. So the unit manager doesn't like me because I do paperwork. Right. And I never did paperwork in the street as a cop, but I'm a paperwork guy.
Right.
I keep everybody on their fucking P's and Q's.
Well, people that don't know what paperwork is, it's when you're writing up counselors and cops and different things for whatever they're doing wrong to you.
They take it seriously in Washington, though, when you send them. They take them seriously.
So by the time I get to Washington with all my complaints, now everybody's mad, right? You didn't do this for the guy, whatever. So long story short, it took me 4 years of paperwork to get them to take a year off of my sentence that I had earned. But it was about having a weapon in your possession doing any crime made you violent for the purposes of the drug program. You didn't qualify for the year off. But that was an arbitrary rule put in place by the Bureau of Prisons. So I had to challenge them for 4 years. And then when I finally win, they refused to change my sentence date. Another fucking year of paperwork to get them to change my sentence date. And finally, the unit manager says to me after I put in for my presidential commutation of my sentence, because everybody's entitled to do so. I just do what I'm entitled to. He goes, who the fuck do you think you are? You deserve a commutation. I says, I came to prison. I've done everything you've asked me to do. I've volunteered for every program. I'm on your suicide watch, which I saved 2 people trying to kill themselves. For real. I said, it's in the newspaper, one of them. So there. I ran your drug and alcohol program for 5 years. I was a peer counselor. What more could I do? Right. Stop bank robberies from the joint? I don't know, what more do you want? I've done everything that you could do in prison, essentially, to be considered for anything, rehabilitative, whatever. And you motherfucker, you make us do all this paperwork all the time. You think you're special? I said, no, I just think I'm regular. And anybody who's done what I've done, because I'm supposed to be camp eligible, in a year. 9, 10, 11, 12 years later, I'm still in the fucking medium high the whole time, which, camps give you a little more leeway, a little more room to be semi-human, So I knew it was a tough battle all the way. Now this guy's telling me this. I said he's a Mexican guy, so Mexican guys they think they're tough, and they are. They're good boxers, right?
Yeah,
they're great. They're great boxers, many of them. They can fucking hit like me. So I said to him, you want to hit me, don't you? Because you could see the fucking. I can read people. You want to hit me, don't you? He's just grinning at me. I go, take your best shot. You and me. I'll close the door. We'll have some fun. I said, I'm sure you can fight. You're a Mexican. You know, like bias, racially bullshit, whatever. The point is, if he's anything, and if he's a Mexican guy, he you know, he likes to throw his hands around a little bit. I could tell he wanted to hit me. And it was like boiling inside him. I said, look, it won't go anywhere. You and me, we'll just do it, you know?
Right.
So he goes, I got a surprise for you. I said, oh, really? So, P.S., they transfer me. And he's part of my transfer team.
Right.
They send me to Devens, Massachusetts, which is close to the
Yeah, I
home,
know.
right? Fort Devens. That's where I run into Johnny Gambino with the paralyzation guy. Anyway, so they send me there, and when they send me there, I lose the year off. So it gets added back to my sentence. So you talk about, I mean, they put me on Thorazine, whatever kind of, they put me on all kinds of fucking antidepressant drugs and shit and put me to sleep for hours at a time because I was, yeah, whatever they put you, I don't know. I was going to climb the fence. Like as I said, my release date was 2003 and they changed it to 2004 because when I transferred from this judicial circuit, the 11th, where I won my case, the first circuit didn't have the same rulings in place. So he's like, one of the counselors came up to me and says, Dowd, are you sure you want to get transferred? Like, instead of saying, you're going to lose the year off, you're fucked. Because there may be some issues with your thing. I said, issues? What issues? I can handle all issues, right? I get there. I'm there about 2 weeks. They call me in, these two little psychologist ladies. You know, cute, you know, oh, wow. This is my fucking lucky day in prison, you know. I got two attractive young women around me. What the fuck? I'm still a man. And we got good news and bad. Well, why don't we start with let's start with the bad. You lost your year off when you transferred from fucking Florida to New York City.